All right, so after taking the winter off, I made my I'm Back video a couple days ago where I updated you guys on everything that's changing about the channel, what I'm doing, and what's happening with me this year, kind of a life update. If you haven't seen that, I will link it below. But now, my first official real video upon returning is going to be a tarot haul. So, I mentioned in my last video that I dropped the ball kind of across the board all winter long. I didn't do Patreon, I didn't do YouTube, and I also didn't do some brand promotion stuff that I was supposed to do. One of them was Mindful Souls, which I talked about already, and I will link that below as well if you're interested. And then the other one, two, are decks that I was going to promote. The first one, you've seen me do Artisan Tarot Kickstarters before. They had another one. Pretty sure it's over now. I was supposed to do it in January. I did not. But they did put out another Kickstarter for another Tarot de Marcel deck. This one is the Jean Dodal deck. Again, the Kickstarter, I believe, is over, but they do really amazing restoration work for various kind of old school decks. And I will link them below. You can still buy the other ones they've done. They are super high quality and good, and they're really meticulous about their work. This is not the official final deck. It's just kind of a pre-production promotional deck. But I'm going to link all the stuff below. I do love their work, and they are high-quality cards, if you can tell. And they do a really good job of restoring cards and kind of really taking the time to painstakingly make sure that they're doing accurate restorations of old Tarot de Marcel decks. I think I'm saying that wrong. I'm pretty sure I've been corrected a couple of times already. So sorry about that. But I will link them below. I feel terrible about not having promoted them in January like I was supposed to. But if you're interested in getting any of their restoration decks, I recommend them. They're great. Good quality cards. Excellent attention to detail. They're even nice tuck boxes for tuck boxes. So this is from Artisan Tarot, and it's their latest restoration deck, which is the Jean Dodal deck. The second deck that I want to show you guys is called the Revolving Time Oracle. It's by Moonology. I genuinely love the shit out of this deck. Now, as of today, there are 4 days left on the Kickstarter, so I haven't totally missed the boat. I think I'll publish this video in 2 days, so you'll be 2 days left if you want to get on it. It's already fully backed, so at least that's good. I don't feel like a failure or anything. But it is a really fantastic deck. So it's an Oracle deck, but it is based a lot on tarot. They're really high quality cards. It's like 350 GM. It's got the matte lamination on it. They're really, really nice. So what she did was the first 21 cards, or cards 0 through 21, I should say, are based on tarot, the major arcana cards. But I'll show you the close-ups, obviously. But they are kind of just named like oracle cards, and they have yes/no answers as well as elemental associations, keywords, and key phrases on them. I really like the artwork as well. You can tell from the major arcana cards that they are related back to the major arcana. And then cards number 22 to 37 are based on court cards. So, for instance, the first 4 are Cups, water. We have the Page, which is called Empathy and Spring Season. The Knight of Cups is romance and time for love. So they're based on the court cards, but they are portrayed as oracle cards. And then the last 12 cards are just intuitive exploratory cards like day and night, past, present, future, moon phases, self, memories, inner child, things like this. The backs of the cards are really beautiful. They've they're just really nice, high quality cards. I'm really grateful that I got this deck. Now, that being said, it's a prototype deck. So I did not receive a guidebook, and I did not receive a box. Although she told me that those things, would be included. I just wasn't getting one because it wasn't done yet. They were still in pre-production. So all I got was the deck in a bag. That being said, I would still have gotten them if it was just a deck in a bag. But she is making a guidebook. I asked her for the digital version, but I did that like 30 minutes ago because I'm just who I am. I didn't in any timely capacity ask her for a digital version of the guidebook. So I can't actually tell you anything about that. That's on me because I should have asked her sooner. All that being said, there is still, when you see this video, when it goes up, if you see it immediately, then there's still a couple days left. And I will link everything below for not only the Artisan Tarot, like I said earlier, but I will link her content below as well. I'm assuming that after the Kickstarter, there'll still be a way for you to order them. If you watch this video later, I'm sure you can still get it, and I recommend it. It is really, really awesome. So, the next one I'm going to go over is the Soulflower Plant Spirit Oracle. I'm pretty sure this one, as well as another one, were both sent to me by Bear & Company. They sell books and decks. I love them. They've been sending me stuff for, I don't know, the last year or so. They're just awesome. They don't even ask me for anything. They just send me stuff in the mail, and I love it. I always love it. So they're definitely doing a lot of promotion on this deck, but for good reason. It is a really, really nice deck. I genuinely enjoy it. It is plants. It is literally plants. So like echinacea, consciousness, and then it gives you a description on the card. There's also a guidebook that comes with it that has further explanations, information, and affirmations in them. That was a lot of shins, wasn't it? The cards are pretty. They're just plant pictures. I really, really love them. As somebody who really likes working with kind of plant energy and plant spirits, I'm always doing something with herbs, and all my moon rituals include herbs. I really enjoy this. I'm actually planning to start growing a bunch of things and working more with herbal magic and doing some dietas with some plants as well this year. So this felt very timely to me. They're pretty, like watercolor, solid cardstock. I mean, it's oracle cards, so I'm not going to bridge shuffle them or anything. There's something, I wouldn't say they're like amazing cardstock, but they're good quality cardstock. Nothing to complain about for sure. And I like that the information is actually included on the cards themselves as well, so that you don't necessarily have to pull out the whole guidebook. You can just use the cards themselves. And it comes in a really nice box. It's got the solid box with a magnetic closure on it. It's by Lisa Esterbrook. Soulflower Plant Spirit Oracle is what it's called. Highly recommend it. I think it's great. I have zero complaints. Actually, I don't think I have any complaints about any decks today. I know that some of you guys just love hearing me just rip decks into half. Well, there'll be some conversations to be had about a couple of them, but for the most part, I genuinely like all the decks that I actually have for you today. All right, so the next deck I'm going to talk to you guys about was also sent to me by, I believe, Bear & Company, and it's called the Fine Horn Spirit Oracle Cards. Written and illustrated by Swan Treasure. Now, I haven't worked with these a lot just yet, although I have been feeling drawn to them recently. I read the beginning of the book briefly a bit ago, and the basic premise that I recall is that essentially there is some kind of event called the Fine Horn Co-Creative something or other. I'll actually link it all below because I don't remember off the top of my head, but at this event, is kind of when the inspiration for it had come. And then in the weeks following, they did some drawing technique where I think she said it was called touch drawing, where you just use fingers and fingernails and not actual pen and pencils, and you like with colors. I don't fully understand what that is. And they kind of more or less, from what I understand, kind of channeled and naturally inspired the cards that are here, and that they are based on, they're divided up based on the medicine wheel. So there is the portals of the east, west, north, east, west, south, the realms above, the realms below, right? And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, looks like 7 cards in each. And there's some extras, it looks like. I have been feeling drawn to use it a little bit recently. They seem to cover a whole spectrum, kind of an all-purpose oracle deck. We have precision, boundaries, conception, assurance, joy, delicacy, healing, trust, confidence, victory. So, I mean, that really covers a whole wide spectrum of topics and messages that can come through. And my understanding is that she just kind of allowed the presence and spirits of the things in the environment to come through. And I do like it. I like it. It's very different for sure. But I do find myself drawn to it pretty regularly as of late. I haven't used it again. I haven't used it much, and I am never good about like reading the entire book cover to cover and like doing all the things they say. I just kind of grab the deck and go. Maybe that's disrespectful. I don't really know, but yeah, it's a great deck. I'll link it below as well. It's really pretty. I'm sure I've already shown you close-ups by now. Yeah, I like the general free-flowing concept. It's got good energy to it for sure. I only have one more oracle deck, so we'll just go ahead and do that one, and then everything else is tarot. So, if you've been watching my channel for a while, you already know I love the Moonology deck. I use it on my pick of cards. It is a default oracle deck for me. Yasmin Boland's Moonology deck is one of the first oracle decks I've received, and I have used it ceaselessly ever since. So, a while back, she came out with the Moonology Manifestation Oracle cards, and as soon as I saw it come out, I knew I was going to get it, and I did get it over this past winter. So, it's the same kind of concept in that they are all lunar based. They say things like last quarter moon in Capricorn, first quarter moon in Cancer, and so I think the other one was just kind of full and new moons in the signs as well as eclipses and stuff like that. And these seem to include last quarter, first quarter, etc., etc. New moon in Sagittarius, new moon in Aries, but they also include with them little messages underneath. I also like the artwork is just simple and clean and moon based, and then you always have the astrological symbols somewhere. And then there's messages on the bottom. So new moon in Aries is go for it. New moon in Scorpio is go deeper. So they all have this really beautiful kind of scenic. I mean, the last deck that she did was just kind of abstract the moon. These ones have like landscapes and some other symbology built into them, as well as moons and astrological symbols. I'm not going to complain about that. I have nothing to complain. I love Yasmin Boland. I love what she creates. She's never disappointed me. Yeah, and these are, I mean, I had to get them. It was a default. I got them as soon as I could, and I love them as much as I thought I would. It's a default for me. Moonology cards are always a default for me. I really appreciate them. All right, next up is the Mystical Medleys, a vintage cartoon tarot. I just wanted something different. I don't know. I wanted a new tarot deck. I want it to be kind of Rider-Waite-y based. Nothing too out of the norm. And I found this and I thought it looked cool. So I got it. And it is cool. It's got the same kind of box system as, what is it called? Like the White Newman or the Modern Witch. The box with the little hard-covered book inside that all kind of slides out. I'm gotta be honest, I'm not a fan of this box design at all. I don't care for it. But it's a nice quality, you know what I mean? The cards are also very similar, I would say, in structure. I don't know if it's the same person. It probably is. But it's the same very hard to shuffle kind of situation. Really thick, really heavy duty. I gave away my Modern Witch Tarot. If you're new here, I gave up my Modern Witch. I refused to use it. It was too glossy and too thick. They were impossible to shuffle, and I refused to deal with them. It's a beautiful deck, and I wish they would reprint them on a different paper. This one is also incredibly thick, but they're at least not glossy. And if you don't mind the super thick cardstock, then, and if you like the Modern Witch Tarot or the White Newman, White Newman cards, and you like that kind of cardstock, then you would probably really appreciate them. I just really have a hard time with cardstock. I bridge shuffle. I bridge shuffle like crazy. It's what I always do. And I can't bridge shuffle these cards, and it just drives me crazy. I mean, I can. I'm doing it. But it's not easy. It requires focus. I can't flow. I like when I can just kind of mindlessly or in a Zen state almost shuffle my cards. But with these ones, it requires strength and focus and purpose, and like it strains my hand. And so I don't care for the cardstock. I don't care for the box. But I do actually like the artwork. It's cute. It's like vintage cartoons. It also has like kind of like a, what is the word? Hex something, like a textured pattern kind of put over it. So they look kind of vintage and dirty, I guess. I do like the cards themselves. I don't know how feasible it is that I will ever use them on account of the cardstock and stuff. And because they're just decks that I like more. It's a great collector edition, and they are, you know, generally based on Rider-Waite imagery. So if you can read Rider-Waite, you can read these. Just kind of replace the typical artwork with a more vintage cartoony style. I don't feel like it's teaching me anything. It's not a deck that's like I'm learning something from, but it's cool looking. If you're a deck collector and you want something cool or different, I also think it could be a really cool deck for teenagers or young kids. I have a 16-year-old daughter, and her friends love tarot and everything else. So they pit stopped at my bookshelf behind me, which is where the cards are always sitting. And it like caught their attention. So I know if you're looking for a deck for, say, teenagers or something, they definitely like it. I'll probably eventually end up giving it to her friend. My daughter's friend she just acquires all the decks that I don't want. I just give them all to her. So it's cool. It's pretty. It's cool. I'll show you pictures of it. I'm not super sold on it. I guess I did kind of shit on a deck today after all, huh? I said I wasn't going to shit on any of these cards, but then I did. Whoopsie daisies. Moving on to the next one. So the next one is the New Era Elements Tarot. Now, I read the reviews on this on Amazon, and there are a lot of people who threw a lot of fits about it. But I actually really like them. I haven't worked with them much. I've been doing a bunch of other stuff. I've been doing a lot of event organizing and marketing work for my boyfriend and some churches and stuff this winter, but I do like the artwork on this deck. It's very modern, monotone, clean, good style. It's like hand-drawn kind of pencil work. I think someone was throwing a fit because they reverse strength and justice around, but they do that. That's so does the Thoth deck. It's debatable on which one's which. I also like that these cards actually include in them the astrological associations. Oh, that's what people were complaining about. So some of them were triggering. It was a trigger warning kind of deck. So for instance, the Devil card actually includes, looks like dead bodies and a swastika, and like that was, and the Tower card actually has the twin towers collapsing on them. So I mean, people were complaining about these cards require a trigger warning, that the imagery was too dark, and they couldn't focus with them because the imagery was so dark. I think, I just opened it up to grief, and there's somebody shooting a heroin needle into their arm, and they have a 3 of Swords tattoo, like the heart with the 3 swords in it, tattooed on their arm, and they're using a needle. So like they are very triggery, and that's fair. Nasty looking spider. They are a little dark and a little triggery. Let's see. This one's got a pinned open gutted mouse. Fair, I guess. Now that I'm looking at them again, but I still have really enjoyed them. I haven't used them again. I haven't used them much, but I do think that it's very different. If you want a different kind of deck and a very modern, admittedly dark deck, it's the New Era Elements Tarot, and I will obviously link everything below, as always. And let me just say, as far as cardstock goes, now, they are stiff. They're pretty stiff, and I think these are the kind of cards that will take years to break in with regular use. They're maybe a little more stiff than I would care for them to be, but I can control them with relative ease. It's not too difficult for me. They're a little laminated, a little like glossy finish, so that kind of I don't really like the glossy finishes oftentimes, but I don't mind it so much. I guess I'm getting used to it more or less. Yeah, these cards are, I guess they're kind of dark. I don't mind. I like it. I like how they're using, real modern day problems and positive, negative, whatever's. The imagery is interesting. It's the kind of deck where it's going to allow me to kind of re-examine my own internal keywords that I have for tarot cards and look at how they could be reinterpreted. These are the kind of decks that I think expand my understanding of tarot, and I appreciate that. All right, the last deck that I actually purchased, this is a different situation. I'll get to that in a minute. But the last deck that I actually purchased, I bought I was traveling in Texas, and I was with somebody, and she told me that I should get this deck, that she loves it. It's called Tarot of the New Vision. So it's a Rider-Waite based deck. However, it's the scenes are from the other side. So you're looking at it normally. Let's say you're looking at, the magician standing in front of you like this. Now the picture has been taken from behind. So looking at the back of the magician. So you're kind of seeing what the magician is actually looking at, etc., etc. So you can kind of see what's in front of the scenes that the characters in the cards are actually looking at. It's super interesting. I haven't worked with this much either. No one has booked me for readings in 3 months, which, by the way, you can put me for a reading. I haven't made videos in months. I can't say no one. I have done a couple of readings, but virtually no one. I haven't made videos in months. I just kind of disappeared from social media, and I didn't really get books in that time either. So I haven't been doing a lot of reading other than my own, and I haven't been using these new decks. I've been using decks that are my tried and true kind of decks for my own stuff. So I haven't really used any of my new decks per se. Not very much anyways. I do like this. I am definitely going to continue to use it. The one complaint I have, though, about this deck is I really would have liked to have seen, maybe there's one available, I don't know, maybe I can find like a book on this deck, but all it has is a little white book. Half of it's in English. I don't even know if it's half of it. Some of it's in English. Yeah, it's just really short keywords. The Fool, Unpredictability, Revelation, Solitary Trips. That's it. That's the whole description. Like, that's it. So there's no information. I would love to see like an esoteric deep dive into the meaning and symbolism behind the scenes that these cards are now revealing that are not traditionally in the tarot deck. That would be awesome. But it's not included. So it's just kind of like up to me to see what extra information I can pull from the scenes that it's making available to me. I would have liked to have seen a nice book. And again, maybe there's one out there that I could find, but it didn't come with one. It came with a piece of shit book that is useless and that I, couldn't do anything with anyways. But yeah, so this is the Tarot of the New Vision. So the last two decks that I'm going to haul. So I got a boyfriend last year, and he has 3 decks of his own. He's got the Rider-Waite, the Thoth, and the Osho. So I didn't actually haul the Thoth or the Osho, but they are 2 decks that I have always assumed I would get eventually. They're kind of default, it's almost like those seem to me like the 3 basic setups, the Rider-Waite, the Thoth, and the Osho. So they have finally made their way to me in some capacity. I have not begun to work with them. Me and the Thoth deck got a thing going. More accurately, me and Crowley got a thing going. I have this button on Crowley that I really can't fully articulate. I haven't figured out what the button is. I am both immensely drawn to and equally repelled from all things Crowley. It's almost like, I don't know how to explain it. It's almost like I know Crowley's work. Like I've studied it before. I don't know, but there's something in it that just always gives me like, no, I don't want to fuck with Crowley. Like, I don't want to. But like, I also know that I will gain a lot of really good understanding by working with his stuff, starting with the Thoth deck. So it's in my hands now. It's here. I will begin to study it this year. I have another deck that I'm really studying right now, which I'll go over in my video. I'm going to do a top 10 favorite decks video next. Or actually, it might be a pick a card next and then that video. Regardless, you'll hear about the other deck that I'm studying right now. But that's what I'm working on. I'm working on studying more than I am just exploring like cartoon stuff and whatever. So this will be one of the ones that I study along with, I think, the Osho deck. To be fair, I can't fully give you reviews on either one of these yet because they're going to be deep dives. They really are. They're going to be decks that I spend time with and deal with, and maybe they'll make a future favorites video or something. I don't know. But as of right now, I will give you a little bit of information about the Thoth deck that I know of. This is what I didn't know where I learned it now that I think about it. I have no idea at which point it came to me or if I read it in a book or watched it in a documentary. I don't know. But my understanding is that both, the Rider-Waite deck and the Thoth deck came out of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. Essentially what had happened was Crowley had defected and he was threatening to release the secret society's secrets in the form of the Thoth deck. And so Rider his name's not coming to me. Okay, well that sucks. Anyways, in order to kind of spite Crowley, they basically released their own deck so that his would not have the gumption. And then there was a bit of a PR war about whose was accurate because Crowley claims that they intentionally hid key information in the Rider-Waite deck so that the true knowledge of the Kabbalistic traditions that they were teaching could not be entirely learned from it, but that he was trying to be transparent with his deck and teach all of the things. One of the key differences is that 8 and 11 are switched around. So like in the Thoth deck, the strength card is actually the 11th card. And there's debate on why that is, and et cetera, and various thinking. It's supposed to be that Crowley tried to release all that he had learned from the secret order of the Golden Dawn. And, so it's just been this thing. In theory, they come out of the same practice, but they somehow ended up with different decks. The Osho deck also departs drastically from a traditional Rider-Waite deck. So it's kind of, from my understanding, is its own course of study. It's not necessarily, you're going to have to, like this card is called Schizophrenia. This card is called The Outsider, Change, Slowing Down, Integration, Turning In. So it's just, it's its own system almost, it seems like. There are some overlaps, just like this overlap between the Thoth and the Rider-Waite. But I plan to study both of these decks along with some other decks that I'm studying with right now to kind of gain more understanding of not only the tarot, but of general esoteric knowledge, the Kabbalistic traditions, Tree of Life, etc., etc. So it's a lot of really important ancient wisdom that are built into these systems that I am really trying to gain a deeper understanding of. So I plan on studying these decks. Do not forget, please, to like, comment, subscribe, share, etc. It helps me a ton. I took 3 months off, so I could really use a little extra social media love. Please and thank you. Also, I will link all these below, as well as links to book me for a tarot reading, as well as all the other things that I'm working on and doing. Bunch of things, bunch of stuff. Stay tuned, don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.